Hey, 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 welcome to the fourth Thursday of the month, right here at the Prostate Forum of Orange County, where we learn to have hope through knowledge. So, I'm going to introduce a very, very prominent doctor to you tonight, but before I do, I got a few commercial things I need to say. My name is Russ Thomas, and I'm the CEO of Prostate Forum of Orange County. And before we get started, you've all heard me that have been here before. How many people have not been here before? This is the first time. Okay, for you people that are first time, all prostate cancer people need to know where the restrooms are, including the ladies. So out the door that you came in and to the right, both ladies and men's room are down that direction. Well marked, you'll find them.
Is that only the ladies with prostates?
That's the ladies that have prostate problems, yeah. This is Marty. He's on our board of directors, and he likes to harass me a little bit here. Okay, we do need to support our operation here. We do have expenses. For instance, we have to pay for this church, we have to pay for our promotion, we have to pay for other things that we do to promote and help you control your prostate cancer, either cure or control. And if a lot of you can't cure it, we can at least teach you how to control it. For those of you that haven't been here before, I have stage 4 metastatic prostate cancer, and I've controlled it since year 2005. I'm very healthy, I feel great, I've never had symptoms, and that's what you're here for, to make sure it all works out well for you. But in order to help us out, yeah, Webb, you can help me out with this. We do need to pass the basket like you're sitting in church. And this is how we get our funds to help us do what it is, whatever we do. And about half of our support comes from you, and the rest of it comes from the local community. So we're very appreciative of that. Another thing that we do is we like to get people to come help us out with our various projects. How I got involved is I wanted to learn more about prostate cancer. So I decided, well, I went to the board members, anyone that dealt with board members, and I said, what can I do to help and learn more? Because that's what we're all interested in doing. Once you get prostate cancer, you have to learn about it. You have to take control of your lives. So they invited me to attend a board meeting to see if I would like to be involved with that. And I found out that the more work I took on, the more projects I took on, the more they moved me up the ladder. But the blessing of that is the more I learned about prostate cancer. And now I teach prostate cancer. I don't teach prostate cancer, I teach how to live with prostate cancer and not die from it. But you know, you can do the same thing. It's up to you to learn about prostate cancer, because now you're all directly involved. So one of the best ways is to become involved with our organization. We will give you information, even more than we can give you in the little seminars that we give you here. With that commercial out of the way, any of the board members here, would you stick your hands up? Just stick your hands up, board members. Only 2, there's more outside. Okay. There's a few more. Any one of the board members can help you out with how to get involved in helping us out and learning about your cancer and learning more and how to control it, etc. Please be aware that we have our women's group that meets here at 6 o'clock on the 4th Thursday, every 4th Thursday. And I think tonight they were stressing diet and exercise as their subject tonight. I believe that would be the case. And they meet across the way. So, you know, the prostate cancer affects the women as much as it does the men for a variety of reasons that you all know, but not the least of which is your soulmate. They're concerned with your health in all aspects of it. So they learn a little bit more about it in their meeting also. So if you, ladies, if you'd like to attend our women's group, it meets the 4th Thursday of every month at 6 p.m. One more commercial. The annual Prostate Cancer Conference is held at the Marriott Hotel by Los Angeles, September 5th to the 7th. And you have the best prostate cancer doctors in the world as your speakers there for 3 days. It's Friday afternoon, Saturday all day, Sunday morning. And if you sign up before the end of the month, which is 3 days, folks, 3 days, you get in for half price, which is $60. $60. If you wait until the end of the month or July 1st, it goes to $120. If you sign up at the door, it's $150. Now this is the best thing that you can buy for your buck, the best pluck you can buy for prostate cancer that you can get. Just to give you an idea, some of the doctors that will be there, and these are world famous doctors, Dr. Lawrence Klotz from Sunnybrook Health Science in Toronto, Canada, talking on active surveillance. Dr. Maha Hussein, University of Michigan Medical Center, topic advanced prostate cancer. Dr. Anthony Zietman of Massachusetts General Hospital, intermediate and high-risk disease. Dr. Eugene Kwan of the Mayo Clinic, talking about treating oligometastatic disease with multimodality therapy. It's a good thing I practiced saying that. That's a whole mouthful. Dr. John Mulgrew, Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Institute, talking about sexual complications of treatment. Dr. Mark Moya on dietary supplements and prostate health. He'll also be your moderator, and he's excellent. He's very entertaining. He's one of the best speakers of any genre, not only prostate cancer. Some of these guys can get really intense in their speeches, and they're interesting, but Mark Moya will keep it light and lively for you. Dr. Snuffy Charles Myers from Virginia will be talking on immune therapy, and Dr. Mark Schultz from Marina Del Rey will be talking about the prostate oncology specialist will be talking about treating PSA relapsed disease. And there are other doctors that will be there that will have small seminars around. It's a tremendous value for the price that you pay. So sign up, go home, sign up tonight, or you'll forget, and then you'll have to pay too much money for it. You won't pay too much. It's worth every penny of it, even if you went to the door. But it's really, and incidentally, I don't get a cent from promoting this, nor does the prostate forum. But I go to it every year, and I pay my $60 every year. And the prostate forum will have a booth or a table there. So come see me. Say, hey, I saw you down in Orange County. We'll have information there for you.
Russ, do we have forms here?
Can we have what?
Enrollment forms here?
I do not, unfortunately. But you can get them online at PCRI, PCRI.com, and you'll get them online. Okay. Tonight I have the pleasure of introducing to you Dr. Paul Kim. And if you could hold your questions until after the presentation, we'd appreciate it. Dr. Kim will give you the opportunity to ask any question that you have, and he'll be happy to answer it. And we'll go through our normal question and answer session after he's done with his presentation. Dr. Paul J. Kim is the medical director of the Urology Health Institute in Orange County. His office is, I have to put this commercial in for you, Dr. Kim. His office is on Edinger at Tustin. Anybody's interested. He's a Southern California native who graduated with honors from Stanford University, majoring in biological sciences. Dr. Kim obtained his medical degree from Yale University School of Medicine and returned to California to complete his internship at Santa Clara Valley Medical Center, San Jose, and radiation oncology residency at California Pacific Medical Center, San Francisco, where he was the chief resident. He then completed his fellowship in proton therapy at the Massachusetts General Hospital at Harvard Medical School. Stanford, Yale, and Harvard. Wow. And then he had additional training in prostate radiation in the Seattle Prostate Institute at Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. Dr. Kim is a board-certified radiation oncologist and emergency medical doctor. Throughout his career, he has been active in cancer research and has published numerous articles in leading journals such as The Lancet, BMJ, the International Journal of Radiation Oncology, Biology, and Physics. In addition to being an accomplished researcher and author, Dr. Kim has presented several scientific papers at the annual meetings of the Society of Radiation Oncology, and has received many awards and honors, which I'm not going to read because after a while they get redundant. I mean, they're all high awards and honors, but just suffice it to say, he's well qualified to be here, one of the best in his field. It is with great pleasure that I'd like to present to you Dr. Paul J. Kim. Dr. Kim. Oh, incidentally, Dr. Kim may be standing down here instead of the podium because this is the best way that he can work his computer. So he'll be standing here, but you're sitting down low enough that everybody can see him, I'm sure.
Thank you for that generous introduction. So today, I thought I would talk about some advanced technology that's currently being used in radiation oncology these days. The technological advancements is just dizzying, and so I thought I would review some of the recent advancements so far. But the goal has always stayed the same. The goal is to treat the prostate while minimizing dose to normal organs like the bladder and rectum. But the challenge is being able to hit a moving target. And this illustrates what the challenge is. So on the left side of your screen is a full rectum, and the right side is an empty rectum. You can see here in the full rectum that the prostate right here is just being pushed back and forth as the rectum is full. And even in situations when the rectum is not full, as the bladder gets larger and larger, you can see the prostate moving up and down. So the other challenge is that this movement is unpredictable. It can happen at any moment, and for radiation oncologists, it's all about how to hit a moving target. This is another example of how much it can move. They put tracking beacons inside the prostate, and over time, you can see the beacons within the prostate can have any number of movement patterns. So this is an example where there's no motion at all, very stable. This is an example where some of the prostate's moving later on, and here it's just very unpredictable, and here it's stable, and then maybe there's a gas pocket coming through here, pushing the prostate over. And so the other observation is the longer that your radiation treatment is, there's more opportunity for the patient, for the prostate to move. So motion management is needed to manage this uncertainty. And this uncertainty about where the target is at any moment can vary from day to day or from moment to moment. And so radiation technology has been evolved to manage both sets of challenges here, the day-to-day and the moment-to-moment. The other source of uncertainty is knowing where the target is exactly. And you can see differences based on whether you get a CT scan or an ultrasound or an MRI. And there are subtle differences in like the volume that you get from each study. For example, this is the same exact patient, same level in the body. You'll see that the prostate and CT is not quite as clear at some of the edges as you can see with an MRI. And so this is another source of uncertainty. And so in the old days, when we didn't have the current technology, and you were uncertain of exactly where the prostate is at a precise moment, the solution was to treat a larger area around the prostate, and that's called a planning margin. So that in the event that your prostate moves this way, that the prostate would have been covered by this field of radiation highlighted in blue. If the prostate moved over this way a little bit, then they'll still be in the field. The larger this margin of uncertainty is, the more that the rectum and the bladder will be captured in this high-dose field. And so, and that can lead to more side effects. So the goal has been to get the radiation field to be much smaller so that there is less amount of healthy tissue in the field. And to do that, you have to go from a situation of less certainty to one with more certainty. So there have been several technological advancements to improve this certainty. One is speed. So even a generation or two ago, the radiation machines would only take maybe 10, 15 minutes to treat a prostate case. And so they've made advancements in the speed by taking a technique like IMRT and making it more efficient with a newer technique called VMAT, and reducing that time of 10, 15 minutes down to maybe 3 minutes. And so what that does is allow less time for the prostate to move out of your field. The next set of advancements involve imaging, both in the planning phase and understanding where the exact borders are of the prostate by incorporating different kinds of imaging modalities like MRI and ultrasound into the planning phase, and in the treatment phase, the use of image-guided radiation therapy. And so these techniques help improve certainty of where the target is. So let's go back to speed again. So the volumetric modulated arc therapy is a way to take your usual IMRT and deliver it much faster. And so in the old days with IMRT, you would maybe perhaps get 7 or 9 beams. You shoot from one angle, you stop, turn, shoot, stop, turn. And by the time you work around the patient, it could be 10 minutes. So they gave the machines the ability to treat without stopping, improving the efficiency, and allowing less time to treat the prostate, which means less time for the prostate to move away from the radiation field. This is an example. Every company has their own brand of this technique. Varian, which is a prominent manufacturer of radiation machines, they call their VMAT Rapid Arc, and this is an example where you have IMRT and you can see the machine rotating and not stopping. And by the time it rotates around the patient twice, they're done with treatment. It's all because at the head of the machine, you have a bank of lead leaves that continue to morph its shape according to the shape of the prostate from that particular angle. Because it's always dynamically moving, it can continue moving without stopping. The other advancement is the use of imaging. So again, this is the same picture as before. Before we only used CT scans to plan the treatments, to delineate the target, but now we can incorporate MRIs into the treatment planning software, overlay these images on top of each other to improve the target delineation. And oftentimes you'll see that the volumes determined by CT alone are often affected if you overlay the MRI on top of them because of higher certainty with a better imaging modality such as MRI. Now the treatment side, imaging has been very important to improve the certainty of where the prostate is. And these are 4 kinds of image-guided radiation therapy technologies currently being used in this country. The benefit of image-guided radiation therapy is that it improves the ability to know where the target is, and if you can do that, it can reduce toxicity. This was shown, this is a study from the Royal Sloan Kettering, where image-guided radiation therapy was allowed to be used, and just like in that initial diagram I showed, if you know exactly where your target is, you can reduce that field and reduce the chance you're going to be hitting something unintended like the rectum or bladder. And so over time, they will see that the toxicity was improved. This is a graph showing late grade 2 genital urinary toxicity, such as urinary frequency, urgency requiring medication. You can see that in the blue here, that folks with IGRT have a higher chance of having less toxicity than those treated with a non-IGR technique from an earlier era. IGRT is important because it can also reduce failures. This is a Another study would show that that if you did not know that there was a big gas pocket in the rectum behind the prostate and you didn't take that into account in your targeting, you could be off in hitting the prostate. And so the larger this gas pocket is, then you could be missing the target. And over time, they saw higher chances of PSA failures without the use of IGRT. So there are different ways to do IGRT, and the first technique I'll discuss is stereoscopic X-rays. So this involves usually having X-ray detectors and panels mounted usually in the ceiling of the treatment room, and it's usually imaging something you put into the body like a fiducial marker, which are usually these gold markers that you can put in the prostate, and then they can visualize those, and you can take those pictures during the radiation to verify that you're always on target. The advantage of this kind of system is that you can mount these X-ray panels to your existing radiation machine. It can take pictures during the actual radiation treatment that allow you to adjust and reposition as necessary. The disadvantage is it involves more X-rays, and it also involves placing the fiducial gold markers in the prostate in the first place, and which is another invasive procedure to do, and so that's a minor disadvantage. Examples of technologies that use this stereoscopic X-ray are CyberKnife, Novalis, and Exacttrack. And this is an example. Here, as illustrated, you see these X-ray detectors and panels at the top of the room, and you can see that it's imaging the prostate from two different angles. You can see these gold markers here, and then you can compare, if it moves every time you snap those images during the treatment. If they move out of position, you can adjust the patient until the markers match your original reference position and get higher certainty that you're always hitting the target. The next kind of imaging technique is cone beam CT. It's different than the stereoscopic X-ray in that it's able to take three-dimensional imaging. You're not just imaging like 3 dots or 3 markers, you're actually imaging the entire prostate gland. You can visualize the gland, you can also visualize the rectum as well as the bladder. You can also attach this kind of technology to your machine, and again, the advantage is both soft tissue and bony delineation instead of just looking at the markers. Another disadvantage is it involves more X-rays, but it also takes time to acquire a 3-dimensional image. This is an example. Here you can see these X-ray panels, arms coming out and imaging continuously as it rotates around the patient from every angle. And by the time it makes one complete rotation, all those images get compiled together and you can get a 3-dimensional image just like this. And here you can see this blue is the bladder at the initial reference when they were planning the radiation. You can see at the moment, on that particular day, that bladder is not as full as the original planning scan. You can also see the rectum in cases where you see a lot of gas or distension of the rectum. You may find, and if it distorts the position of the prostate, at that time you find it beneficial to have the patient come off the table, release, empty their rectum, and to be better able to reproduce the original reference position, allowing for a better targeting and sparing of the rectum or bladder. But here, you can see the patient in all 3 dimensions here. That's what a cone beam CT involves. The next set of imaging guiding technology is called electromagnetic beacons. And this involves not just fiducial markers made out of pure gold, but they are actually giving out signals to tell a sensor placed over the abdomen where they're located at any given point in time. It's often marketed as a GPS, like a GPS-like system, where you can localize its position at any given moment. The advantage is you get more frequent sampling of knowing where these beacons are at any given point in
time. It involves no radiation dose. You can also add it to any existing machine, and it's continuous tracking. The disadvantage is, again, there's no three-dimensional images. You're just tracking these three markers. It is invasive to put these markers in, but another potential disadvantage is if in the future you ever wanted to take an MRI of the prostate to see what's going on in case you had a rise in PSA, that these beacons contain iron that can interfere with the magnet of the MRI and cause a substantial artifact, and so it's very difficult to get a diagnostic MRI of the prostate in the future. These are beacons that are permanent, so they're generally not removed after the radiation treatment is done. And the beacons are not, they're small, but big enough that they can distort the anatomy of the prostate. An example of this technology is called Calypso. And this is the Calypso system. So on the right-hand side, you have a situation without a Calypso system. And in this kind of scenario, if the rectum pushed the prostate out of the way, this radiation beam is on, it would be missing the prostate during these situations. And if it does, you're going to be off your target, potentially have less success. With the Calypso system, because the markers inside here tell where the prostate is, it can give feedback to tell the machine when to turn the beam off, should the prostate move out of position. So you can see that the beam turns on and off. It's really because of these beacons here sending out information continuously being detected by a sensor placed over the abdomen. So again, that is the Calypso system. The third set of imaging guided technologies is ultrasound. And one of the older forms of ultrasound is a transabdominal ultrasound system, where the ultrasound probe is placed on the lower abdomen. It's only performed prior to treatment, and it can visualize where the prostate is because it can see through an organ like the bladder. It doesn't involve any ionizing radiation, but one of the disadvantages is it's heavily operator dependent, depending on how much pressure they put in the abdomen. It can, if you have 3 people doing it, it can potentially be 3 different locations depending on how firm they perform the procedure. So there's some variability there, but if we have a consistent team, then the results will be consistent and can be generally very good. The other newer technology is transperineal ultrasound. And this is basically an ultrasound system that's placed on the perineum, kind of like as if you were riding a bicycle. So the pressure is in that same area. The advantage, just like any other ultrasound system, involves no radiation dose, and having the ultrasound placed there allows for an opportunity to take continuous ultrasound images so you can continuously track the prostate. And so the disadvantage is that sometimes, depending on the time of day or what's going on with the rectum or bladder, you can get variable image quality. The other disadvantage is it does take time to set up the ultrasound system every day with the patient. One of the examples of this system is the electrotherapy system. So this is a picture of what that probe looks like. This is the probe here, and it's placed in between the patient's legs, and this surface here is placed against the perineum. Here's an example of what an ultrasound image could look like, and you can see all the different organs pretty well. Just like the ultrasound used to biopsy the prostate, same idea. Here you can see the prostate, you can see the bladder, you can see a little bit of the rectum, the penile bowl. This is what the setup is like with the Clarity system. Involves immobilizing your legs with these cushions. And then here you can see this is the same immobilization system where your legs are resting. You can see that ultrasound system being propped up here and placed in between the patient's legs and pressed on the perineum. And this is what the activator looks like. So here you can see the system sampling the prostate continuously. You can see this red is the radiation beam. And there's going to be a situation where the rectum may push the prostate up out of the way, out of the radiation field. The system will be able to detect this motion, and you can interrupt the treatment, turn off the beam. You can then reposition the patient, get it back into the field, and verify that with the ultrasound system, and then resume treatment. And so you can intervene during the actual treatment to make sure you're still on target. This is a picture of our system that we use in our center. This is what the therapists look at on the machine. You can see that the system is actively looking at the prostate continuously in real time. And you can see the prostate moving in real time here at a resolution of 0.1 millimeters. So it's really quite fine. And then as it approaches like a millimeter or 2 millimeter jump, then we can shut off the beam, reposition you, and then resume treatment. So this allows us to maintain accuracy and precision of the treatment. So what are the benefits of knowing where the prostate is at all time? And the idea was to reduce that margin. And when you reduce that margin, you can allow less volume of the rectum and bladder in the very highest radiation dose field. And so this was tested by folks at Cedars-Sinai, and they used the Calypso system. And what they did was they asked quality of life questionnaires and patients who got that system and compared the results, the quality of life results with patients who did not get treated on that system. But the title was that the acute side effects treated with IMRT was reduced with reducing these margins. So, wow, this is hard to read. But basically, these are the quality of life scores for bowel function. And they look at different components like bowel urgency, frequency, incontinence, bloody stools, rectal pain. And you compare people who got like real-time tracking versus those who did not got real-time tracking. And you can see the scores pre-treatment to post-treatment in terms of quality of life, very similar in patients who got real-time tracking. But for those who get bigger conventional margins, because there was a lack of real-time tracking, you can see that the scores jump, meaning that there's higher scores for urgency and frequency, simply due to lack of real-time tracking. That was their hypothesis. They looked at other domains like urinary irritation, urinary incontinence, sexual function, when looking at smaller margins due to real-time tracking. And for those getting real-time tracking, clinically meaningful decline in quality of life was only found in 1 out of 8 categories here in urinary incontinence. For patients receiving non-real-time tracking treatment, you will find that there was clinically meaningful decline in 3 out of 4 quality of life domains. And so for that reason, they felt that there was a reduction in side effects due to real-time tracking. So real-time tracking of the prostate can be used with the standard radiation techniques, whether you're getting 9 weeks of radiation or a newer technique where you get radiation done in just 1 week. And so with conventional 9 weeks of radiation, we can treat a smaller field because of the higher certainty of knowing where the prostate is. And the idea and the hope is there will be improved quality of life due to less exposure of the rectum and bladder to the highest doses of radiation. For this emerging newer technique called stereotactic body radiotherapy, this allows for the same idea where you're treating higher doses of radiation, typically used than conventional IMRT. with these higher doses, you want to be more careful about how much dose is going to the bladder rectum, and real-time tracking will help achieve that. So IMRT with over 9 weeks is a standard treatment throughout this country for localized prostate cancer. So because it's a very well-known entity, I thought I would spend a few minutes on the relatively newer technique called SBRT, and I'm sure the speakers before me have also addressed this technique. But the rationale for stereotactic therapy, getting it done in a shorter period of time, is not just a convenience factor, but in the laboratory there is some idea that prostate cancer may respond, at least certain kinds of prostate cancer respond to higher doses per time. And there's different ways to do this. The conventional is every day for 9 weeks. There's a moderate way of doing it, then cutting it out to 4 to 6 weeks, and the extreme way of cutting it out to just 1 to 2 weeks. So the data so far are accruing in terms of whether this is just as good, superior or worse compared with conventional radiation. Swedish is doing a study comparing 39 fractions versus 7 fractions. In our country, there's a trial comparing 12 treatments versus 5 treatments. And so everyone's eager to see what those results show. But the use of SBRT started way back since 2000, almost about 14 years ago, through individual hospitals. And they've accumulated a lot of data up to this point. And last year, one common machine used for SBRT is called CyberKnife. And all the CyberKnife centers, at least 8 of them here, pooled all the results together to share their experience of how toxic it was or how effective it was. And so this was published last year. And they described 1,100 patients treated from 2003 to 2011. They all treated on CyberKnife. And they used different margins, but they were tighter than what you usually see in traditional IMRT, 5 millimeters, 3 millimeters posteriorly, or sometimes 0 millimeters, 2 millimeters in the heterogeneous technique. And hormone therapy was not universally given. They were given depending on the individual patient. But what they found in this group is that most of them were low and intermediate risk disease, only 11% were high risk disease. Hormone therapy was used overall in just 14% of patients. So the efficacy of this technique, they found that in low risk disease, the control rate by PSA control is 95%, for intermediate risk was 84%, and for high risk was 81%. And in general, these are at 5 years after radiation treatment, thought to be comparable to what you would see 5 years after 9 weeks of radiation therapy. They also asked each of those patients their quality of life scores, and they basically found that over the next 5-6 years, that the scores were generally the same or better with time. This is the urinary scores. These are the 75th percentile scores in many patients who really didn't come in with a lot of pre-existing BPH symptoms. These are patients with lower scores to begin with, usually patients who are having a lot of pre-existing BPH systems. But no matter how good or bad the scores were in the beginning, over time, if you track the scores, they're generally stable or rising over time, meaning their quality of life was getting better. The bowel symptoms, similar the same way. You see the dip here, the scores, around right when they finish radiation treatment, which is expected because of the short-term side effects. But after they recover, the scores generally get back to where they were or higher. In terms of sexual function, you can see that even among the best performers, the score was around high 60s, and over the next 5-6 years, that the sexual function decline was about 20-25%. Based on some of these maturing data, the Society for Radiation Oncology felt that the data was mature enough to start offering this kind of treatment with patients with low to intermediate risk disease. High risk disease was not mentioned because such few patients were studied with SBRT for high risk disease. So whether it works well or not is there's less data to stand on, but comparatively much more data for low and intermediate risk disease. Then the NCCN guidelines, which is widely viewed as the reference standard of the best practices in this country, also mentioned SBRT as another option, although they say it is cautiously a cautious alternative to IMRT, but meaning that you would have to have clinics with appropriate technology, physics, and clinical expertise, because it is technologically demanding to deliver higher doses per time in a very safe manner. So the best candidates for SBRT, again, are people with low and intermediate risk disease, just because the bulk of the data support this population. But other than that, no other real defined restrictions regarding like how bothered you are by your urinary symptoms to begin with. The band limit size is quite generous at 100 cc's, and the use of ADT or hormone therapy is just not uniform or standard. It's not well known how to best use it in conjunction with SBRT. With SBRT, technologically, it takes more time to deliver such large doses per time. Prostate motion is unpredictable, making such image-guided technologies pretty essential. And again, as described before, there are a number of different ways currently being used throughout the country to deliver SBRT. One is intermittent X-rays with the stereoscopic X-rays, and that's how the CyberKnife and the Valus trap the prostate by taking images of the gold markers throughout the treatment course and making sure that they're in the same position. And then there is verification of with the continuous real-time technologies with Calypso beacons or with the Clarity system to continuously track where it is at any given moment. So at our center, we have offered both conventional IMRT and SBRT for appropriate patients. And whether you're getting one or the other, we figure that they will all benefit from having continuous tracking. And our system involves use of the Clarity system. So what we do is we, in the preparation procedure, we CT them, and we also obtain the ultrasound images in the treatment position. That way, the fusion is seamless. And then we have patients get a 3 Tesla MRI, and I blend those images as well. Again, trying to improve the target delineation as much as possible. And then once I have that, then I can reduce those margins to 2 millimeters, because I feel pretty comfortable that because I can track it continuously, if it approaches 2 millimeters, I can stop the beam, readjust, and then resume because of the continuous tracking. The treatment involves a cone beam CT right before to confirm that there's adequate bladder filling and empty rectum, and then I switch over to the Clarity system once the treatment is about to begin, so I can track its motion during the actual radiation treatment. Typically, I have the machine spin around 3 times to deliver one of these larger doses, or 2 times to deliver a standard IMRT treatment. Either way, since the machine, we have a variant treatment machine, is quite quick. With IMRT, the treatments can be as short as 2 minutes. With SBRT, the treatments can be around 4 minutes. Either way, they're quite quick. And that's all. Thank you for your attention. And there's information brochures back behind you to find out more about our center. Thanks very much.
Hold on, Dr. Cameron. We're going to have questions, I'm sure. But that last statement he just said, I want to make sure you understand what he said. There are brochures in the back for IMRT and SBRT for your perusal to check out and make sure that Dr. Kim knows what he's talking about here. So anyway, if anybody has any questions, let me know. I'll give you the mic so we get our sound on the machine here. Right over here, Larry.
Thank you for that presentation. On your PowerPoint, you showed my question is, you show 3 different types of radiation there. One was Calypso, the other one was Clarity, and there was another one that I can't think of. And my question is, which one is the most accurate? Okay, and what I mean by that, okay, you have a target, okay. How close can you come within that target? And what, based upon data, scientific data, which one is the most accurate?
Right. So many of these technologies will cite sub-millimeter precision. And so many of the technologies will cite sub-millimeter precision. And so it's hard to directly compare them, but there was an abstract presented about 2 years ago where they put Calypso beacons in a patient, and they applied the Clarity system to the
CyberKnife.
same, right, CyberKnife. Right.
Yeah.
So,
Excuse me.
and so they applied the Clarity system to the same exact patient. So you figure if the Calypso beacons are telling you the prostate is moving a little bit, that the other system should be able to pick that same motion up. And so that abstract from the University of Miami found that both systems, which are real-time continuous tracking, were comparable in terms of performance. The CyberKnife and Novalis, how they track a target is they are tracking the fiducial markers placed inside the prostate. And the image frequency is what's a little different than the frequency found in like Calypso or Clarity. The Calypso and Clarity are running continuously without stopping. The CyberKnife and Novalis, they're taking x-rays of the fiducial markers at maybe every 5 seconds, every 15 seconds, every 30 seconds. It kind of depends on each patient. And so the frequency is a little variable. It's not like rapid fire continuous. The question of whether continuous, meaning more rapid sampling, is superior than intermittent or every so often sampling, that's a research question that we don't have the answer to. But that's the main difference.
What's your intuition?
Well, more frequent sampling, you have more data to work with. And so, I mean, you're dealing with probabilities. What is the chance on a CyberKnife system within the 10, 15 seconds that you took an image that's going to move during the 10, 15 seconds? You might have picked it up anyways if you take the image 15 seconds later and be able to adjust. Another scenario is what are the chances that it moved and moved exactly back to the same position. You didn't catch it, because you didn't sample as frequent enough. And those are all hypothetical probabilities. But you're thinking more frequent sampling with Clarity or a Calypso system, you're going to get more data.
Thank you.
Hi, Dan. So are you guys experimenting with the hydrocolloid injection to separate the rectum?
Yes, we're all waiting for the phase 3 trial to be released. The one that's currently being studied is from Augmenix. And so I saw that, I looked at clinical trials and it looks like the trial is closed. And so perhaps it's going to get announced, sometime in the next year, hopefully. But right now there are no current agents that are FDA approved, and that's why we're all eager to see the results from Augmenix.
Explain what you're talking about.
Sure. So there is a material that you can inject right here to try to separate the rectum away physically from the prostate. And they're very similar to the compounds used for plastic surgery or where you put in fillers and to try to even out like a contour of the face. So those are one class of compounds. It's called hydrogels. And the idea is to put something that hopefully is safe into this space and have it be there for a certain amount of time, and maybe after a couple of months, degrade on its own in a way that is not dangerous. And so that is temporary, and that is as if nothing happened months later. The idea is is to buy enough time to separate the rectum from the prostate over 2 months, to try over 9 weeks of radiation, pull the rectum away from the prostate. The idea is to have less of the rectum into the high-dose radiation field. So far, there have been numerous reports used in the United States of how the amount of rectum is less, and hopefully that will translate to less side effects. But there is a company right now that completed a phase 3 trial where half the people got it, the other half didn't. What they're looking for is toxic side effects and quality of life. And if it's positive, then it'll be widely available for use. Right now, it's approved in Europe. It's just not approved here yet.
I have a question. Back when I had my surgery, that gentleman that was just before me had chosen radiation, but his prostate was too big, they said, and so they tried hormone treatment to shrink it, and they weren't able to shrink it, so he ended up in the surgery just before me. Can you address that?
Well, cytoreduction with hormone therapy is effective. Maybe 20% shrinkage in general, but what you're saying is not unusual, where the shrinkage is not as much as you would have hoped for. Typically, the goal in terms of size restrictions, a lot of times is considered when you're getting a certain kind of radiation called brachytherapy. And the idea is to shrink the prostate so that you can get your needles, to the furthest reaches of the prostate and put in radiation seeds there. And so if it's too big and it's out of the reach of the seed, then obviously you're not going to get a good implant and inadequate radiation coverage of the prostate. That's typically where I find the strongest argument for cytoreduction. For external beam radiation with use of a machine, the machine generally doesn't have a huge restriction, because if you ask the radiation computer to plan a treatment to go up here, then you'll find a way to in the safest way possible. It's up to the physician whether they're able to accomplish that goal while meeting the classic dose constraints for the normal tissues of the rectum and bladder. And so, but the machines are more forgiving than brachytherapy.
Another question, a friend of mine just went through the surgical, and apparently, according to him, his cancer was very aggressive. So they removed his prostate and followed it with hormonal therapy. Do they do the same thing with radiation therapy?
You mean radiation first and then hormone therapy after? Yeah. So that is, so after radiation therapy, to know whether it worked or not, we follow the PSA. And as many people may know, the PSA decline happens gradually over time. It can take, a year and a half, 2 years to hit its rock bottom. And then if it does, then we see if it stays there. But in the event that it rises, indicating a potential failure scenario, then there are a variety of options used at that time should it be proven that the cancer indeed returned. And one of the options could be hormone therapy.
In this case, they said they weren't waiting for the PSA to respond. They were doing it right after surgery.
Right. So surgery is kind of different. After surgery, they remove the entire gland. They're able to determine pathologically, how extensive the disease was. They're able to see if it went into a structure like this, the seminal vesicles. They're able to determine whether it penetrated the capsule or broke through it. They're also able to determine whether they got a clean margin around. And if any of those were positive, when you look back at people who went through surgery and any of those were positive, they have the risk of the PSA to return. And if that risk is considered high enough, then people are offered further therapy, including hormone therapy and or radiation to provide further control.
I have a question.
Sure.
Brachytherapy at one time used to be thought was the most conformal, and you're trying to do all kinds of technologies to equal the conformality of brachy. The brachytherapy went down for surgery, Now surgery seems to be giving way to more external beam. Why not go back to brachy, which was on the move?
Yeah, brachytherapy is an excellent option, and it continues to be, and you're absolutely right. It is the most conformal radiation out there, and you're sensing that the machines are trying to accomplish what brachytherapy are, and that's kind of what SBRT was modeled after, to give high doses per fraction, similar to what brachytherapy does. And so, but brachytherapy, you're right, is a great option, and this is nothing to do to take away from that. But some of the pros and cons of both are being weighed by patients. Brachytherapy can be invasive. It is invasive, so some patients may decline to go down that route and want something that's non-invasive, which involves a machine kind of route. Some people have too large of a prostate to get brachytherapy. So, depending on the scenario, there should be a good option for everyone, but I always discuss brachytherapy with all my patients as another option.
Yeah. Just to share with you, about 11 years ago, I went to Kaiser at Sunset, and my prostate gland was 65 cc's. So they felt that they could not implant seeds with that large of a gland. Now, that's probably changed. That was 11 years ago. Okay. But there are places, there are centers of excellence that can work with much larger glands. Okay, one of them is RCOG in Atlanta, Georgia. And this, I'm going back to my recollection, and it seems like it was 120 cc's that they had worked with. Also, the Tolly, okay, in Florida, works with large glands.
Yes, absolutely. And there's another center out in Arizona, another well-known brachytherapist there, also does with large glands. So, and even in our backyard at UCLA, you have Dr. Demanis, very well-respected brachytherapist, and with a different kind of brachytherapy, the high-dose rate, you get a lot more flexibility on the size restriction. You're learning more things about what the prostate can tolerate, the larger glands. And another example is before there was a teaching that if they had a TURP before, that they're not candidates for brachytherapy, but now there are reports saying that it can be safely done. So I think on all fronts of radiation, there are just newer things we're learning all the time.
Question on that. You've talked about SBRT here today, but I assume that your facility does brachytherapy. Is that correct?
No, I don't. Yeah, we're not, in our particular building, we're not licensed to have anesthesia, and so that is the main limitation. So we have to do it in the hospital.
Richard?
Quick question about the CyberKnife.
Yes.
As I understand it, that is a very high intensity radiation. It comes down, it's much higher than the normal. Does that have any risk of like resulting in the cancer cells being able to break through and spread because the radiation is so powerful?
So with a higher dose, you're concerned that it would actually spread more?
Break through the capsule, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I haven't heard that kind of result. If it did, then you would see higher failure rates, you know, to exemplify higher PSA recurrences to tell you that it did spread. And so based on some of the data, like the one that I spoke here, I mentioned here, released 5 years ago, 5 years of cumulative experience with CyberKnife platform, they really haven't seen a huge pickup in PSA failures because of that. They seem pretty comparable to what you would expect with IMRT radiation. Yeah.
What kind of beam is your treatment? I've heard of proton.
Oh yes, it's a photon beam. Yeah, there generally these days there are two main kind of beams out there. The vast majority is photon radiation, and then there's exotic particle beams like proton. There's carbon, and there's other things as well, but we use photon.
I was under the impression that proton beam therapy had to have a very large accelerator.
Yes, they're very, very large traditionally, but even that has been changing. There are now newer proton systems that can fit in a single room. And so, and that just got released in the last year or so. And so that they're trying to downsize that and make it more available to more places and having it more affordable. Still, that's relative. Even these single room systems can run about $20 million versus the big ones that cost much more.
So your SBRT is protein beam?
No, the SBRT is all photon based. Yeah. So there's not a lot of experience of using SBRT prostate with a proton beam yet. I know there are probably some proton centers out there examining that, but most of what you see in the literature so far is all photon-based SBRT, like CyberKnife is photon-based, Novalis is photon-based, Trilogy, TrueBeam, all photon-based.
So you guys gonna put Loma Linda out of business?
That remains to be seen.
It looks like we don't have any more questions, Dr. Kim.
Sure.
You know, I really appreciate your expertise and knowledge of what you're doing here, and maybe we can get some business your way, which is what we intend to do. But anyway, let me tell you, to show you our appreciation, as you could tell from my earlier talk, we don't have a whole lot of money around here. But in a doctor's life, time is money, right? So in order to save time, we give you a cup that'll fit right in the holder of your car so you can have your morning coffee on the way to work and save time.
Wow.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kim.
Thank you.